All right, this is the SBC podcast. We're gonna go live on TikTok as well. But it's the SBC podcast. Every single podcast is a business meeting with a specific purpose and a specific outcome. So the purpose is to make money. And remember, whatever your purpose is, it drives your action. So we are 220, 207 wins, 138 losses at 60% at $1,000 a game. So I bet $1,000 a game by the grace of God. And we are at 60%, 52.5% break even. So when you start a business, when you become an entrepreneur, you have to know your break even point. If you don't know your break even point, you don't know what the fuck you're talking about. So the break even point is 52%. We're at 60%. 59%, you can live in Vegas. You have a $500,000 condo, have a car, live a decent life. Okay. So with that being said, we're at 60%, 2 weeks left in the year. But what does that mean? That means that we've made around $70,000 profit we did not have before, anticipating the outcome of football games. So, as Elon Musk says, if you can get to the truth of something, or at least close to the truth, because we don't have the resources to Elon Musk, we get close to the truth, we can consistently predict outcomes. And when you can consistently predict outcomes, you can monetize it. If we monetize the outcome of football, a second half of totals to around $70,000. We did not have before. We can buy as many dolls as we want, right? Trump was saying, oh, you had $38, we can only buy three. No, we can buy as many as we want. I'll buy presents for the wife, Louis Vuitton, for Christmas. All right. So that's where we're at right now. 60%, we want to be at 70%, which is the elite. Crazy year, crazy things happen. A lot to learn from, a lot of research to do, different changes. However, we're happy. So again, this was Christmas week. Everything was nuts. Everything was crazy, personal, not personal. And with Christmas Day games and all that, we are at, you always have to have a stretch. So if I look away, I'm looking at the spreadsheet. However, since we're using the dopamine center of our brains, we have a high sense of awareness, and we're better than other commentators out there because other commentators get paid for their opinions, regardless if they are right. We only get paid by being right. If we do not get paid, we lose relationships, we get divorced. Nobody wants to be around somebody who's broke all the time. So we have people around us, we have people who collaborate with us because we're consistently making money. But so people share information with us, we share information with other people, right? And if you genuinely give good, valuable information and you genuinely help people, when you genuinely give people more transparency than what people are getting in the Epstein files, and you give people information that benefits them, 2 out of every 10 people will really appreciate it and reciprocate the value. So that's where we're at. And as an MBA, securities license, someone who has clients net worth $50 million and above. They were 20 million when they met me, now they're 50 million. We're happy, looking good, and we can do that. And when you have that mindset of value, psychological factors, plus functional factors divided by time and money. When you have that vibe to you, that culture to you, right? In a market with $134 trillion as the United States is, we make a lot of money. And we use return to the mean, we use fundamental analysis that we'll get into in the podcast. We use statistics, we use collaboration. We know we just met. We're like people in a foxhole who just met in boot camp 3 months ago with a complete stranger in a war against the casino, against sports bettors, against people who think differently than we do. But at the end of the game, right, there's $1 trillion in the predictive markets. There's $1 trillion in sports. We just need a piece of it together. So here we go. Week 17. First game we're going to look at is the Cincinnati Bengals against. They are going against good old Bengals and Joe Burrow against the Arizona Cardinals. The Arizona Cardinals, when you look at their defense is, you look at the players, the guys they draft, even backups, they're all physical specimens. And for those watching on the visual on YouTube, are able to see the game caps. Those who watch on Twitter or X, whatever it's called now, will see them, right? So the Bengals are going to score a lot of points. Al Golden, you got to wonder about Al Golden, right? A lot of paranoia going around these days with pedophilia. So Al Golden's defensive coordinator at Penn State was a famous pedophile. He was around. You got to wonder about these guys. They always want to be around other guys. He's a defensive coordinator for the Bengals, and they've kind of confessed that they're tanking, even though they have great talent on offense. They're developing the defense. So they knew the defense was going to suck and really make some huge mistakes during the season. So for us, what does that mean? It means money. So we bet the over the Bengal games. So I like the over in this game. It'll be under 52. And I like the Bengals to cover the 6 points as the Arizona Cardinals. They're owned by the Bidwell family, who had to sell the racetracks, and they had to sell a big portion of the team to private equity, had to sell a big portion of the team to the Saudi Arabians, Jared Kushner and the Saudi Arabians. What does that mean? That means that they're taking out a loan on the team to a bank to live their billionaire lavish lifestyle and do not want to pay for players. Remember, you make more money missing the playoffs than making the playoffs. So late in the season, a team with cheap ownership, right? And the reason we take it to talk a lot about ownership, who's calling the shots, because of fundamental analysis. Nobody has ever gotten rich with technical analysis. When you see people sell on CNBC, Bloomberg, right? Nobody's ever gotten rich with that. What poor people and what middle class people have gotten rich with is fundamental analysis. And one of the main tenets of fundamental analysis is analyzing who's calling the shots, who is the Elon Musk of the situation, who is the Mark Zuckerberg of this situation, who is the Bill Gates of the situation. And then you see who's calling the shots. You see their philosophies. You get ahead of the outcome. And once you can predict outcomes consistently, you can monetize that. And we do it organically all the time. Here, we break it down into specifics and we give you the whys. Tangible, transparency, not for religious reasons, not for philanthropy reasons, not for personal reasons, but to make money together, collaborate, right? So that's why we do this. So that's why we talk about the Bidwell family, right? And their mafia connections to get ahead of the outcomes. When you're a Bidwell, you do not want to pay for backups to lose money in the playoffs. You want to just play the season, get your TV money, go home, and live your happy billionaire life. So what does that mean for us? How do we make money out of that? We make money out of that betting the Bengals minus the 6 points over 42. Next game we're going to look at is the Pittsburgh. See, it was the Rooney family who made money horse race. That's why they have a cheap head coach, African American head coach. African American coaches make less money. That's why the Rooneys hired him. So they can they can have a great African American coach at a bargain price, which they do with Mike Tomlin. Love the under for Mike Tomlin, so let's go under 34, and they will cover. As far as I don't like a cheap team like this that even though Jack Sawyer's a great backup, they do great uh, drafting, and they always roll over a lot of their players because the highest cost in the NFL is labor cost. Okay, so when you're looking at labor costs, the Steelers always overhaul their roster. That's why their defense sucked earlier in the season because they didn't want to pay for veterans for the most part. So, to that end, they're playing the Cleveland Clowns. Cleveland Clowns are owned by Jimmy Haslam. Look up Jimmy Haslam, bribes, and pilot. Jimmy Haslam owes a lot of money to a lot of people. The man has to kick up. If you're familiar with that term, Google that term. If I'm saying something that not familiar to you, but remember, it's going to be tied into the overall philosophy I laid out in the foundational part of the podcast in the beginning. Google it. It'll make sense to what we're talking about. So Jimmy Haslam has to kick out. So you put in there mafia kicking up. What does it tell you, right? It tells you got a cheap man. He doesn't want to win. Taking out loans on the team. He's making more money lowering labor costs, not making the playoffs, than making the playoffs. Pittsburgh likes to make the playoffs. The Rooney families are more organized. There's still money laundering with horse track. They own the Boston area. So they like making the playoffs. They don't mind paying travel costs, which is another huge cost. Travel and labor, they don't mind paying travel costs. So they'll be in the playoffs with a cheap African American coach, Mr. Mike Tomlin, big coach, Hall of Fame, won a Super Bowl. So the Steelers minus 170, under 34. Now, I've had a flat about 6 weeks, and things turned around when I did the Hawthorne effect. I get it out next week. I haven't gotten it out the last couple of weeks. So the holidays and just crazy stuff going on. However, once the FBI scandal came out, my percentage started going down. And the highest percentage of wins I have is when I'm basing my picks on paranoid, weird conspiracy. Now, I don't want to go crazy. So I want to do things logical. I don't want to deal up conspiracy theory. But those are the ones that are making most money. Like, if a team needs a stadium, they make the playoffs. So I made money with the Chicago Bears. They need a stadium. They're in the playoffs. The Chiefs and Taylor Swift, they already got their stadium paid for. Guess what? They're not in the playoffs. Now, I don't believe in Santa Claus and Easter Bunny, but whenever I bet on paranoid conspiracy theory, I make money. Whenever I try to be logical and say, hey, you're not be a crazy conspiracy theory person. Let's look at a logical outcome. I lose. So it might be a crazy conspiracy theory, but the money that I'm making, anticipating outcomes based on paranoia, based on conspiracies, based on corruption, making money. So what is a man gonna do? Gotta make the money. The money's green. I have to pay bills, right? I have to invest things for my other business. My wife likes Louis Vuitton purse, right? What can a cat do? So when Gail Benson came out in the New Orleans Picayune and said that they were tanking, they were losing on purpose. I think she wasn't supposed to say that. I think she was old. Maybe she had dementia. She shouldn't have had that interview with that reporter. Suddenly, the Saints turned things around and started winning. So what are we going to do? We're going to bet the Saints minus 40, under 40. Next game we're going to look at is the Jets plus 15, under 40. And let me read you a ridiculous quote from Aaron Glenn. Right? Remember, fundamental analysis, we look at people who run these teams. What is it they're saying? What is it says? Listen. And I put LOL laughter on this. Substack, get on Substack. You make money by subscribing to Substack. Right? Get transparency with useful information for you. Use information that is of value to you. So we get the reciprocation. So he says, I will continue to say, don't let go of the rope because there's a plan. There is a vision. For the fans, listen, it's going to be a tough road. Going to be a tough road for the fans? Then give me my money back, man. Why am I paying full price to be depressed and go through toughness? I go to a game, pay money to be happy, see my team win, right? You're telling me I have to pay all this money to go through toughness? I have enough toughness in my life. I don't need toughness from the New York Jets. I digress, right? We know exactly what we're doing. Really? You know exactly what? Then why are you 2-13? I don't care how bad your team. These are professional players making millions of dollars. You should not be going 2-13. I don't care. Yeah, every NFL team has 4 built-in wins, and you're 2-13. Aaron Glenn, you do not know what you're doing. The reason they got you is because you're the African American cheapest choice. Bunch of bullshit, right? You say, what was the owner of the team? Well, Woody Johnson's in the goddamn motherfucking Epstein files. All right? He owes the IRS 20 million. If you and I owe the IRS $20 million, we'd be in jail. Woody Johnson's out. His family's from Johnson and Johnson. All right. So on top of that, the general manager of this team is his 19-year-old son, right? And that's the other thing. We're independent sports journalism, not tied to any other entity. So we can get focused on brutal honesty to get to the truth. You have to be brutally honest, especially if you're poor middle class, to get to the truth. And why do you get to the truth? It's not an idle situation. Get to the truth to predict outcomes. And when we start predicting outcomes, and we predict outcomes consistently, then we monetize those out. So we can't be processing bullshit if we're going to make money, right? We're talking about the New York Jets and Woody Johnson in the Epstein files, banned from England. Trump trying to make him the ambassador to England. They're like, fuck no, we don't want this pedophile in our country. So Woody Johnson, owner of the Jets, had to keep his ass in New York. He wanted to leave New York, leave the Jets. Why? Again, I told him. They make more money not making the playoffs and losing than winning. That's what Woody Johnson is doing. But to that end, we're actually going to pick the Jets this week, plus 15, over 40 points. Seattle Seahawks at the Panthers. Again, you have a corrupt owner of the Panthers, Carolina, David Tepper. He's in my field, which is wealth management. It's funny. Wealth management, dealing with people's money, dealing with millions of dollars. It is an industry more shady, more corrupt, more cutthroat than I would say the porn industry or even the mafia, right? Because in the finance industry, people try to kill people all the time. It used to be, I thought, oh, you worked hard, you got a business deal, you made money. No. You beat certain people on a deal fair and square, they want to kill your ass. Rest of the mafia, they have no code or nothing. Complete degenerates, right? So that's David Tipper, owner of your Carolina Panthers. Believe me, they do not want to make the playoffs. They play horrible at home. So let's go with Seattle Seahawks -7 over 42. The greatness of the Raiders. The admin at the Raiders stole $50 million from the IRS. Right? Look up Gridiron Club. They're all the money that NFL owners give. The Republican Party and our favorite loudmouth orange man. They give them a lot of money. Why? To get away with the corruption. Pam Bondi will not prosecute you if you pay her enough money. How do I know that? Sue me, Pam. Let's go through discovery. Let's go through the direct evidence I have to be able to make that statement. Let's have a public trial and let's get all those papers out, right? I digress. Uh, so that's the Raiders. But in this situation, they covered last week. I think they're winning this game. They're going to beat good old New York Ants. The Rare family, they're not corrupt. They just do not give a shit. They already won the Super Bowl. They care more about Rooney Mara's film career and the other daughters' women's soccer team than they do the Giants. Again, that's why they do not have money for backups. That's why they do not want to make the playoffs, because they want to increase the equity of the franchise. They want to pay back the loans. Remember, when a bank gives you a loan, they don't just give you the money, they give you advice, they give you direction. And the number one cost in business is labor cost. And two, travel costs. So that's why they don't have depth. We pay the price. We make the money on them late in the season. So let's go with the greatness of the Raiders. Plus 130. I got under 43 points. And last week I did better on the totals than the Falcons. The Buffalo Bills need a stadium. Since the Buffalo Bills need a stadium and it's linked, I could be a ridiculous, paranoid conspiracy theory. But I just made too much money. I bought my wife rings at Nordstrom, Louis Vuitton on this theory. So it's not the house's money, it's my money. And I make this money on the stadium theory. And I'm gonna keep doing it till I lose. I already made a lot of money on the Chicago Bears, plus 300, winning the division and winning the playoffs. Got witnesses that told me. Check my Substack. I have it on there. So give me team that needs a stadium. Good old Buffalo Bill. And remember, you need them to win so they can get public money. The Chiefs and Taylor Swift, the stadium is worth $3 billion. The family that owns the Chiefs are worth, they say, $25 billion. And the poor, broke, on meth taxpayers in Missouri paying $3 billion. I mean, $2 billion. $3 billion one, the family that's worth 25 billion, then the broke ass struggling, getting their Medicare cut. People in Missouri are paying $2 billion of their tax money for sitting here. So Taylor Swift, you go in there, sell it out, and make herself money. I don't make the rules. I just anticipate the outcomes, anticipate the corruption, anticipate the depravity, and make money. Buy my wife a Louis Vuitton purse. That's the thing. So you're not a degenerate gambler. When you make the money, give it to the people who are helping you around you, people who feed you, people who give you clothing, people who fuck you. Pay them from your winnings, right? Next game we're going to look at is the Colts. Colts are going to beat, in my opinion, the Jaguars, the owner Khan, who funds Hamas, right? And Again, the Abraham approach will not work because it doesn't include a Palatine state. But I digress. But this is what this guy cares about. Does not care about making the playoffs teams. He's very paranoid that they're this close to making the playoffs. So he's going to tell his coaches to lose against the Colts. So give me the Colts +6. And I'm looking at the money line for the Colts game. Because thinking about it, I'm convinced myself. Colts on the money line against the Jacksonville Jaguars. Or the Jacksonville Jaguars. All right, so give me the Colts. And I'm looking at the money line on this game. Colts. All right. +220. Indianapolis Colts plus. So that means when I bet 1,000, I'll get $2,200 back. Lord will. And again, so use arbitrage. You invest in 10 or more stocks, you bet in 10 more games. Okay. So that's what we're doing. And we're going to get you with the live. Yeah. We're still live on YouTube. So from there, we got I like Tampa Bay -200 over 47. The San Francisco 49ers on the money line -162 over 44. The Bucks at some point have to cover. And then the last game we'll look at is the Rams minus. Let me make sure I got this right. I got them early at -4, but I think the line has increased on that game. Rams. All right, so the Rams get the Falcons. Falcons a pleading team. The Cousins, his motion slow. You can only throw it to tight end. It's not fast enough to hit the right receivers. And the game's +8. Buy it down to 7 for the Rams, -7. But if it goes to 10, 10.5, go ahead and hit the Vikings, the Falcons. Got the Vikings on the mind. Vikings covered this week. And we're happy. So again, you always close to Winston Churchill. 90% of the information we get for free. All right. And at the end of the day, as Winston Churchill said, salesmen think short term, businessmen and women think long term. Long term thinking is higher level thinking, and you make a living from your labor, but you make your life for what you give. Thank you for listening to the UPC podcast. That one.